Bunny Call. One of the most controversial books according to fans. That's FNAF and fans put together. But, why? It's a pretty normal book. Keep in mind that this is Scott Cawthon we are talking about, where literally anything can happen. Oh, you want a ball pit that secretly has time traveling powers? There you go. Oh, you want a male who can get pregnant? What? Yep, that's right. Scott Cawthon is reading fanfics. We can all thank Wattpad for that. Also from now on let's call it Aureus. So Aureus are basically where a guy gets pregnant. It's 100% unrealistic, and usually occurs in a Wattpad fanfic. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because many fans are speculating that Scott is making Aureus canon. Especially in his 5th installment in the Phasma Frights series, Bunny Calls. In whole, it seems very Cawthon-like. You know, murder, blood. Until the 2nd chapter, In the Flesh. This is where things get sticky. In this chapter, Matt, no not Matt from Game Theory, is a game developer working on a VR game called Springtrap's Revenge. You play as a character in a maze trying to avoid Springtrap. Matt used his anger over his failed relationships with his wife and other people who dumped him to create him. However, when he play-tested the game, Springtrap would always kill him. Furiously, Matt created a hellish reality for Springtrap AI. The next day Matt went to check on Springtrap, but he was nowhere to be found. After checking the game's data log, he found out that without the victim to kill, Springtrap had been constantly cloning himself and killing the old version. As a result, his programming was corrupted. Matt went into the game to come into physical contact with Springtrap and feel a sharp sting. Matt started to be more aggressive and hungry, striking out on dates. Matt's stomach also looked more bloated than it should. Meanwhile, Springtrap had been extracted from the game, and in the game's code is a program called It's a Boy. Eggs. After striking out once more, Matt went home to find a face imprint on his stomach. He grabbed a kitchen knife and cut open his chest. Out came a tiny realistic Springtrap who stroked his cheek and said, "Daddy." Matt dies from blood loss. From this you can already tell that there are various things wrong with it. One, that apparently Matt, and second, this so-called thing called him daddy, but there is two key points that support my claim on I don't think Scott's intentions we are making Aureus can't, and here's why. My first one is that there was no child to begin with. This is a mere parasite that Springtrap wanted to unleash into the real world. Had it been worded differently, it would have come off as completely awesome and totally frightening. Now my second key point is that this so-called child was not born in any of the natural ways. It was literally ripped off from the chest. I don't know about you, but I have never seen a child be born through the chest. That would not work. It would instantly kill the mother, and Matt does die, but because he did the wound to himself, therefore he died of blood loss. Now I know the miniature Springtrap did call him daddy, but I don't think there is any sexual meaning behind this. Nor is there any biological meaning to this. What it meant by daddy was probably how a father, regardless if it's biological or not, gives a home to another child. In this case, Matt is giving his body as a home to the parasite, which is the miniature Springtrap. Now I think why it said that Matt was acting very aggressive and very hungry was probably because Springtrap is aggressive. I don't know. What I do know is that Scott's intentions were not making Aureus canon. I think what he intended to do was he wanted to create a story where a person gets overcome by this parasite and this parasite comes out and ultimately destroyed the real world. Had it been worded a bit differently, or maybe had given it a much more suitable plot, then I feel like it would have been an awesome story. It probably would have been a great story to dissect for lore. But I don't know. What do you guys think? You guys think that Aureus was meant to be canon, or do you side with me? Do you think that it's just a story about a person having a parasite in them and the parasite just happens to be William Afton, and William Afton just comes surging through their chest and destroying the world as we know it? Anyways, I was your host, the one with no name, and it was a pleasure bringing you this information.